the gas and drive off, all in a minute and 12 seconds.
Drive across the yard here, and they threw down boards and ramps, took off because I guess Border Patrol came up right behind them.
Bombshell news here in Canada. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today's top stories here. We got a couple here. So first up, we got some updates on the Liberal leadership race. We've got one of them dropping out. I think this has all been planned as a fundraising scheme. We have Donald Trump and his tariffs. Alberta might be getting exempt from this because Danielle Smith has been doing the right thing. And the big bombshell news is Justice Hogue and her report. Were her findings honest in saying that there's no traitors in Canada? Or has she been serving Justin Trudeau, not just for the last 10 years, but for the last couple decades? This runs deep. Let's jump into this. First off, we got this one posted by Kirk here. It says Donald Trump confirmed tariffs are coming to Canada. As you can see here, the Canadian dollar starting to plummet. This is not looking good for Canada. We've also got this one from BRICS News. It says just in, President Trump issues warnings to BRICS and threatens 100% tariffs if they attempt to replace the US dollar. So the BRICS nations here, they've been talking about going back on the gold standard. I believe the Americans left the gold standard in 1971, but basically American dollar is used all around the world, and they want to get back to the gold standard, not using American dollars and trade in each other's currencies and all that. And Trump's threatened them with the big tariffs. This is getting wild here. Regarding the Liberal leadership race, Nova Scotia MP Amy Battiste has dropped out of the Liberal Party leadership race. He says he will support Mark Carney. I have a theory why, but first let's check this out.
The Liberal leadership race just got a little tighter and a little smaller as Nova Scotia MP Amy Battiste says he is bowing out of the contest, which means these are now the 5 candidates still in the running.
Let's just take a look at this for a second. So Amy Battiste is out. And I think the reason why he ran, he knew he wasn't going to win. There's no chance. But I think he ran because he was able to fundraise from the Indigenous community of Canada. And then that money now is gone into his coffers. And by giving up on the race, that money goes to the Liberal Party. I think it was just a way to fundraise from the First Nations community. On top of that, I think Karina Gould may be doing that as well. I think she's a stalking horse to challenge Chrystia Freeland, ask her nasty questions and debate and all of that. But maybe they placed her there to get a lot of donations from women. And then that money will also get pushed towards Mark Carney. It says under Section 365(1) of the Canada Elections Act, a registered party cannot give one leadership contestant funds or resources unless the same is offered to all contestants equally. If the Liberals wanted to give money to Mark Carney, say $100,000, they'd have to give all of them $100,000. But by having his money go to the Liberal Party now because he's dropped out, they can spend that money however they want to promote this race as a whole. So I think it was just a dirty tactic for some fundraising. And also they would sign up some people from First Nations community for the Liberal Party. And now he's saying, well, vote for Mark Carney. So it's just a way to push money and people towards Mark Carney. Now, I think these two have nothing to do with that. I think they legitimately are just trying to run. You know, this slime ball here has got his own scandal with his medical company, but I don't think he's directly tied to any of this kind of stuff that's going on here. And I have no idea what's going on with Ruby Dalla. I mean, she basically just coming out as a conservative in the Liberal leadership race. Something else to note, they're all able to spend up to $5 million for their campaigns. And further, Amy Battiste dropped out today because $50,000 was due today, the second payment for the $350,000. They put in $50,000 initially, what is it, like a week ago, which is refundable. The $50,000 that goes in today is non-refundable. So basically is a way for them to not waste any of his funds, but get some First Nations signing up as Liberals and getting some of their money and then sending that all over to Mark Carney here through the loophole. At least that's my hypothesis.
Karina Gould says she'd cut the GST from 5% to 4% for 1 year to give people a break. She'd also raise the corporate tax rate from 15% to 17% for businesses that make more than $500 million annually. And Gould promised to give more teeth to the Competition Bureau.
These are weak. Like, come on, this is what you're going to do to get people's vote? Cut the GST 1%, but keep the carbon tax in? Get out of here. We've got this video going around, which was on CBC, which CBC had deleted. I'm sure many of you have seen this already, but there's more to this story. I've been digging around, and for anyone who hasn't seen this, so this guy here, it's a former CSIS senior intelligence, and he's saying that the Hogue report is nonsense, and there's definitely foreign interference.
You know, part of what she was saying there was that there was some concerning behavior amongst MPs, but there was no evidence that anyone was plotting against Canada's interests, and also saying that the extent to which foreign interference has succeeded in permeating our democratic processes and institutions should not be overblown. I'm wondering how you are processing the information we've just heard.
Very, very, very disappointed I have been in the field investigating those things. I have been there with my colleagues trying to sort of stop foreign interference when the prime ministers ignore us and the warning and the evidence that we brought. What I heard today from this press conference, very, very disappointing, because I'm wondering if we were listening to the same witnesses when she was receiving all these witnesses. We heard some very, very disturbing testimonies of literally foreign interference, or literally also some lack of action coming from the people in the know, the people who knew about it and should have been capable to do something about it. I was hoping that she would be a little bit more severe about how much the elected officials, and particularly the government, has dragged their feet in the process.
Just note that the government, he's calling it out here that the foreign interference is real, and Justice Hogue here seems to be covering something up. Just wait.
She said the government was slow to react and sometimes was a bad communicator. That is an understatement. That is an understatement how much this government and previous government as well, not only this current one, but the mandate has been, and she was very precise. And when she says that she found no evidence that elected officials purposely or intentionally decided to work with foreign state, well, I would say return to your books, because we have plenty of evidence at CSIS and the RCMP.
Wow. This is coming from the former CSIS intelligence officer here, calling out Justice Hogue that she's full of crap with that report.
Now, she was talking about over 100 testimonies that came in front of her during the Hogue Commission. But if we return to the parliamentary committees, it's over 300 experts that went in front of various parliamentary committees. So I'm not totally surprised that today she's delivering a glass half full for the government, when actually it is half empty.
So basically, he's coming out here and saying that Justice Hogue's report here doesn't add up. Now, why would that be? So I started digging around, and dug around some more, and some more, and some more, and one thing led to another. And I found someone who has already put together all of the answers back in 2023. This guy here, Andrew Haynes. Before we move on, it's important to note that this interview was scrubbed from CBC's website. It's not on their YouTube channel. It's not anywhere. You can't find this. What I did find is Justice Hogue is directly attached to Pierre Trudeau and Justin Trudeau and Jean Chrétien, and that's what led me to this. So buckle up for this. As it says, I wish Justice Hogue well on this assignment, but for transparency, all Canadians should be aware that Justice Hogue was employed by the partner of Keenan Blakey from 1987 to 2014. Pierre Elliott Trudeau was a counsel for Keenan Blakey in the Montreal office where Justice Hogue practiced from 1984 to 2000. Jean Chrétien was a counsel at HB. I'm just going to refer to this as HB. Also, see HB letterhead attached with Pierre Trudeau, Jean Chrétien's, and Marie-Josie Hogue's names set out very clearly. So here's the Keenan Blakey law firm. This is a law firm. As we see here, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Jean Chrétien, got Marie-Josie Hogue here. So Keenan Blakey was a law firm that represented Justin Trudeau. This is where this gets really juicy, including in relation to his departure at West Point Grey Academy. Whew. I'm smelling a bit of a conflict of interest here. Is anyone else getting a whiff of that? It is not known if Justice Hogue worked directly with Pierre Trudeau and Jean Chrétien, but she was in the same office in Montreal for many years and would have interacted with them. So the fact that Justice Hogue was appointed to this special inquiry, she had the soft gloves when Justin Trudeau was up there testifying. It was quite obvious. The fact that she was working at this law firm when Justin Trudeau quit West Point Grey Academy. For anyone not aware, Justin Trudeau used to be a teacher at West Point Grey Academy here. He quit in the middle of the school year, which teachers never really do because it's not good for the students, but he abruptly quit for whatever reason that might be. You may have an idea. We don't know. We don't know why he quit. Here he is in yearbook photos wearing blackface. This guy. So there he is there he is there, and there. We got another photo of him there, West Point Grey Academy. And also this one here where you can see his hands are wrapped around his students. Appropriate hand positions, I'll let you be the judge of that. We got Trudeau working as a teacher at West Point Grey Academy, suddenly quits. Justice Hogue is working at the law firm that's representing him Trudeau goes on to become prime minister. Justice Hogue gets appointed to... You can't make this stuff up. One other point needs to be made is, what kind of person gets legal representation when they're quitting a job as a teacher? Just saying. You know anyone that's done that, Boo? I don't know anyone that's done that. And Justice Hogue here then comes in and says, there's no foreign interference. Is there? Or maybe you're just covering it up for Justin Trudeau. So this goes on. Andrew posts this as Justice Hogue's law firm, Haynes Blakey, where she was on the management committee, chair of International Business Law Group, hosting Felix Chi, the chief representative to Canada of the China Investment Corporation. China Investment Corporation is one of the largest sovereign wealth funds charged with managing a portion of China's huge foreign exchange reserves. She has these ties to China. Ooh, okay, let's take a breath. Is she directly linked to the foreign interference with China? I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what's written right here. It says here, this law firm acted for Justin Trudeau as he left West Point Grey Academy in 2001. Justin Trudeau was a client of the law firm where Justice Hogue was partner. The former law firm of Pierre Trudeau issued a statement concerning Justin Trudeau's departure from West Point Grey Academy. So it says here he left his position to give speeches. How many speeches has he given since? So according to the internet, it says Justin Trudeau earned $1.3 million before he became prime minister giving speeches, but it doesn't know exactly how many. It says it's reasonable to estimate between a dozen, who knows. It says here when Haynes Blakey was blowing up in 2014, Marie Josie Hogue jumped the ship and joined another law firm. She had a very successful practice and would have been welcomed at dozens of leading firms in Montreal. The firm she chose to join just happened to be one of the major firms which sponsor the Canada-China Business Council, McCarthy Petrault. I note that Huawei and Meng Wanzhou needed legal advice. They turned to McCarthy Tetrault. Oh, this is getting nasty. The Desmarais Power Corp family heir, Oliver Desmarais, trained at Justice Hogue's firm, Haynes Blakey, as an articling student trainee lawyer in the same Montreal office as Justice Hogue. Oliver Desmarais is now the chair of Canada-China Business Council. He's the grandson of Jean Chrétien. Note that Justice Hogue was on the management committee of Haynes Blakey, where they were a major sponsor of the Canada-China Business Council. CCBC was also based in the same Haynes Blakey Montreal office as Ms. Hogue, and they opened the office with a luncheon for the Chinese ambassador Zhang. CCBC president and the head of Justin Trudeau's transition team and leader in the Senate were also there to celebrate. One of the partners of Justice Hogue at Haynes Blakey in Montreal, where she served as the management committee for many years, was Roy Haynes, co-founder of the firm. Mr. Haynes was also a director of Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation and chairman of emeritus of the foundation. He was appointed to the board of directors by the Trudeau family estate, the right to appoint 2 directors of the Pet Foundation alongside Alexandre Trudeau. Mr. Haynes remained a director of the Pet Foundation after the collapse of the Haynes Blakey in 2014. He was a director in 2016 when the very questionable donations from the CCP United Front connected persons were made. I should note, too, one of David Eby's advisors is also connected to United Front, which is a CCP-funded organization. After looking at all that, what's your opinion of the Honorable Marie Josie Hogue, Justice Hogue? Are there traitors in the government, or is she serving Justin Trudeau's best interests? Corrupt! Corrupt! Oh, sorry, I got something in my throat here. Got something in there. I think it's some corruption. This whole thread here is absolutely unreal. I'll link this up in the description down below if you guys want to check it out. He did this back in 2023. It's just, it's only till now where it's really blown up with Justice Hogue and her saying there's no traitors that this really ties all the loose ends together. It was quite obvious something really stunk about that report coming out and saying there's no traitors in the government, even though Trudeau said there was conservative traitors in the government, yet he won't release the names. If there were conservatives in the government that were traitors, he would have released those names. We know full well that list, most of them, probably if not all of the ones that haven't been named, are probably all liberals. Release the names. Take a listen to this. Donald Trump here talking about the tariffs. I think Alberta might get an exemption.
Canada and Mexico, 25%. That's coming on Saturday?
That's coming on the 1st, Saturday.
But no oil tariff, no oil tariffs.
No, I don't. Well, I didn't say that. You said that. No.
Well, I don't want to misinterpret.
No, we may or may not. We're going to make that determination probably tonight on oil. Yeah, because they send us oil. We'll see. It depends on what the price is. If the oil is properly priced, if they treat us properly, which they don't. Look, Mexico and Canada have never been good to us on trade. They've treated us very unfairly on trade. And we will be able to make that up very quickly because we don't need the products that they have. We have all the oil you need. We have all the trees you need, meaning the lumber. We have more than almost anybody in those two categories. With China, I'm also thinking about something because they're sending fentanyl into our country. And because of that, they're causing us hundreds of thousands of deaths. So China is going to end up paying a tariff also for that. And
I mean, most of the street fentanyl comes from China, so really they should be getting the tariff regarding that.
we're in the process of doing that.
Canada says you're welcome for helping with the wildfires. Ouch. So this situation is getting pretty nasty, and what we have here is, as you heard, Alberta might not be getting a tariff because Danielle Smith has been strengthening the border. So check this out.
Hi, good morning there, Maria. You know, Canada is America's biggest trading partner. Goods and services flowing across this northern border here, tallying more than $900 billion in a single year, according to the latest government data. So that intention from President Trump to impose a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada, garnering a lot of attention here in Canada and a lot of immediate action from the federal government as well as from the province of Alberta, where we are. The province's premier, which is similar to a state's governor, called for yesterday the appointment of a national border czar, which would serve as the counterpart to our Tom Homan. Premier Danielle Smith talked with us earlier this week about Alberta's efforts to meet Trump's concerns about securing the border by investing roughly $20 million of provincial funds to secure Alberta's portion of the border that it shares with Montana. Listen here.
We've already taken action in Alberta to make sure that we're shoring up as much as we can to have the dogs at the border and the commercial vehicle inspection and teams of sheriffs and drones. Though that's what I think the president wants to see, is that we're taking it seriously, that we're going to stop the flow of drugs and guns and people across the borders.
So Alberta's new funding is allowing the province to deploy 50 of its own sheriff's deputies across Alberta's portion of the border, a 200-mile stretch here. It's also allowing drug-sniffing dogs, thermal imaging technology, and drones. And we talked with Alberta's Minister of Public Safety yesterday, and he tells us they are stopping the flow of drugs and fentanyl across the border.
I would say President Trump, I can tell you right now, having worked with these wonderful men and women that are in the Alberta Sheriffs and the RCMP and Canada Border Services, I can tell you this border is secure.
So we're not getting that kind of message coming from Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, David Eby, none of them. So if Danielle Smith does skip out on the tariffs from Donald Trump, it's because she did the right thing and got the job done. This is going to be nasty, though, across Canada. Just watch out. This is exactly what I was saying earlier. I didn't think Alberta was going to get the tariffs. Perhaps all these guys can learn from Smith as to what's needed to be done at the borders. Hats off to Smith. While she's getting more coverage than Trudeau, I bet he's pissed. So Dominic LeBlanc texted a 3-minute video to Trump's border, whatever, security guy down there in an efforts to, show them like nothing's going on at the border, where quite literally they have people at Danielle Smith's border there in southern Alberta checking it out and being like, oh yeah, this is looking good. Meanwhile, in other parts of Canada, this is what's happening. There's certain spots, certain cities where the border is nothing. There's no wall. They just put a ditch there so people can't get over there. And these guys threw a board down and drove over someone's yard to get into Canada from America.
Thanks. Hit the gas and drive off, all in a minute and 12 seconds, and caught on camera by Washington State resident Tyler Brown.
Drive across the yard here, and I'm like, oh. Pull out my phone and start watching. They threw down boards and ramps and then took off because I guess Border Patrol came up right behind them.
It happened Monday, 3:30 in the afternoon near the Pacific Highway border crossing.
I mean, it's a little entertaining, to be real, but it is a little bit of annoying, especially when they destroy the yard and stuff like that.
This ditch along Zero Avenue is what separates the U.S. from Canada. Take a look. You can still see some of the tire marks on the grass there. Now, as soon as the individuals crossed into Canada, 5 men were arrested by RCMP officials, and they've since been handed over to the Canadian Border Services Agency.
They were arrested at 172nd and 8th Avenue. One of them is wanted or was wanted by the United States authorities for property-related offenses.
The CBSA and RCMP declined to comment where the 5 are from. Migrants crossing the area has long been a problem. You'll recall stories involving the now-closed Smuggler's Inn, where the owner helped people illegally cross Zero Avenue.
We generally have board jumpers almost on a daily basis, so yeah, it's just something that we're used to.
That is unreal, and just goes to show this is happening both ways. It's not just people going from Canada down to America. I'm sure it works the other way around, but hey, Team Canada's got it all under control. As part of border agreement, U.S.-Canada Border Security or State Patrol RCMP should be permitted to continue pursuing suspect into neighboring country until law enforcement other county can take over. At that point, they would disengage and return to their own jurisdiction. RCMP will be escorting them to the nearest hotel, guide them to where they get their handouts, etc. Yeah, no kidding. Well, there you have it. More bombshell news here. This is just outrageous. I've been saying this for months. The amount of corruption we know, it's got to be a lot more that we don't know. Once the Conservatives get into power, they will be able to uncover more and more and more of this, and all these different ties, all these loose ends will get tied together, and it'll make a lot more sense. But we're getting a picture that's being painted here. How honorable is Justice Hogue? Is she serving Canadians' best interests? I smell something funky coming from the Trudeau Liberals. It's not honesty.